All right, we are live. All right, welcome everybody to the seasonal AnimSchool open house / workshop. So I'm very excited because today I get to talk a little bit about what I do professionally and also talk about AnimSchool, which is something I'm also very passionate about. So I am Jarrod Showers, and today we're going to be talking about crafting characters from gameplay. A little bit about myself. So I've been in the industry for a little while now, since 1997, shipped over 15 games. Had experience in motion capture and keyframe, and have worked at many different studios. And about 10 years ago, I was able to work with Dave Gallagher of AnimSchool and talk about creating a curriculum for a games program. And I'm currently the lead animator at Night Street Games. A little bit about the background of the AnimSchool courses here at AnimSchool in our games program. So this happens about 5 classes in. So anybody that knows nothing about animation, wants to learn, they can come in and they can get the fundamentals. And by the time they're at class 5, they can choose if they want to go more into character performances like you might see in film or television, or you can choose video games. And the main philosophy behind this curriculum is that we want our students to feel like they are a part of a working industry company. You don't need any technical experience before starting. But we do delve into using an engine, and that engine is Unreal. So why video games? Well, video games are still around. They're still making money. We've had a little bit of a downturn as we've been trying to equal out the industry after COVID, and we are. I think that a lot of the jobs are, leaning more towards more indie positions. But for those of you that are looking for jobs, one great resource here is the Animation VFX Game Industry Job Post, it's real great because you can type in your title, what you're looking for. For example, since this is an animation-based talk here, you can find animator, 3D animator, and then you can filter out experience levels, cities, remote or hybrid, or on-site, that sort of thing. So there's a lot that you can sort of keep an eye out on the industry for, which is very helpful. All right. And so yeah, as you're waiting and trying to get into the industry, it's helpful just to continually learn. Keep pushing forward. Again, the philosophy of our curriculum, the way that I've written this, is to make sure that everything goes in the game, make sure it feels like a game studio. Here is an example of the work that our students have done over. All right. That's some of the work that our students have done. I'm super excited to be able to share that. We also go over things like soft skills. That's a very important part in learning about animation. Things like communication, especially in the post-COVID era where we've got a lot more jobs that are remote. Working with people from around the world, I think it's very important that we learn how to craft good conversations through writing. And we do that with our Discord group here, where every week our students are required to ask for feedback, give feedback, or talk about something industry related. There's always something happening in the industry, and it's important to stay relevant. So that's where that comes into play. And then by the 6th class, which is our game creatures and motion capture class, and then our advanced game animation class, that's where we start to introduce mock interviews. And it's just a safe environment for students to practice the art of interviewing and building up some confidence, trying to shed off some of those nerves, and also being able to review other students as well and get some good experience that way. We provide a lot of really great characters for our games program. Of course, you can come with your own. But a lot of the characters that we've built are using the pipeline that is the same pipeline that's used to create a lot of our feature quality rigs. So you get a lot of really good face shapes and the bend bows and all of the polishy type controls that you might want on a feature film rig. You can get those with our game ready rigs. We've built our own game for this curriculum, something where students could come in and easily replace what's in the game with their own work. So that's at that minimum viable product level where, let's say, a student doesn't have a lot of time or they would like to spend more time animating, less time learning Unreal. We help ease them into the engine work very easily, but it's very important that everything gets into the game. That is the scale at which we test all of our animations with. So this right here, this is just a brief, just a video of what the game looks like when you play it. This cinematic here was done by one of our students in the advanced game animation class. And it's just a way to have an intro cinematic in. And then once you play the game, you have control over a character that you can replace. You can do things like firing and setting up your own visual effects and attacking different characters. We have different camera views if you want to have a behind the shoulder camera view, or if you want to have a top-down view, sort of like No Rest for the Wicked, like what they've got, and some of other games. Even if you want that MOBA style camera, you can put it up above. We want one sound that happens in this. We want our students to be able to take this game and make it their own, to replace everything in it with their own work. So throughout the course of taking the curriculum of in the games program, you start off by doing gameplay animations, some animations that the player would use. And then by the second class in the games program, you would be doing more creatures and enemies. And then in the last class, you'd be doing cinematics. I can go over our syllabuses real quick. Syllabi. Right, so we have an 11-week term, and we start you off by talking about the idol, which is a very important animation. It's sort of the groundwork of all of the animations, because you want to create that pose that really gives the intention of who this character is and builds personality. And spoiler alert, that's what we'll be talking about later today. Then we go into doing movement, jogging, running, walking, and we talk about jumps, player attacks. We have one assignment every week, pretty much. There's a couple of weeks where we do two. So it's a very fast turnaround. And part of this is intentional because we want to teach you sort of the mentality of working with big brush strokes, being able to sell being able to sell an idea quickly, and to be able to unblock other departments. When you're working in the gaming industry, you might work with other departments like programming or design, where they need an animation in order to sell something on their side to the players so we can do play testing. So a lot of times you just got to be able to rough something out real quick and block it out. It doesn't have to be perfect, and then hand that over. And that's the mentality that we're trying to teach our students, how to think about the priority first and the big brush strokes. Then the next class 6, which is our game creatures and motion capture class, we mirror what you've gone through with the player animations in the first class, and we are doing the same for enemies and quadrupeds and creatures. So we start off with idle. In idle, we do movement, and we do a flight and an attack. A lot of our students come in with different levels of experience, and all of our assignments are scalable. So we have what we call the minimum viable product, which is the bare minimum that you need to do to accomplish the goal for the week. Then if students have more time, for example, in the movement week, if they want to do a run and a walk, or if they want to do a transition from an idle to moving, they can do that. Same thing with the flight or idle or the attack. Like you can add extra attacks for your combo. You can do an in-air attack, all these sorts of things. And by the way, we'll be reviewing our questions in the chat. So if you want to post those in here, we'll be happy to try to address those at the end. Maybe some of our guest lecturers, if they are seeing any that they want to take note of, we'll come back to that at the very end. And the last class, which is class 7 before you graduate, that one is our advanced animation class, where we go over cinematics, where again, we want everything in Unreal. So we'll talk about things like the sequencer and rendering, something that you can use to really enhance your demo reel is by using Unreal's free real-time lighting and textures. If you go to fab.com, for example, you can get a lot of free assets that you can use, like your own level. We provide a basic blockout level, but our project works with any level. And it's a great way to differentiate your work from someone else's. And I can't stress enough how important it is to show the experience of getting your work in an engine to a potential employer. That really will speak volumes to what you can accomplish and your mindset in terms of how your animation can work within a gaming environment. So that brings us to the second half of our open house. And if you stick around, by the way, I will provide a special code for new students to use to get some money back, money off when applying for our classes. So if you're interested in that, please stick around to the end and we'll share that with you. And by the way, this will be recorded and up on the AnimSchool website. All right, so that brings us to Night Street. Night Street has been a wonderful company to work at. It's a brand new studio. It's started by a couple of guys you may know. It's a fully remote studio that includes myself and right now 2 other animators. And the studio was co-founded by the manager of Imagine Dragons, Mac Reynolds, and his brother, the lead singer of Imagine Dragons. But just a little caveat, this is not an Imagine Dragons game. This goes back to the creation of this game, the studio, goes back to when they were in Boy Scouts together as kids. And they would play Capture the Flag, and they would hide the flag, and they just really wanted to recreate that excitement in a video game, because a lot of Capture the Flag games have already pre-placed flags. And so Last Flag is really about hiding the flag. So at this point, I'd like to introduce to you Maria. Maria is our senior animator and the very first animator at Night Street Games. She's extremely creative. She has a strong instinct for gameplay animations and has helped define how our game moves and feels. And she's been doing that way before I even started. So, Maria, I would love it if you could say a few words about your animation journey and your experience with Night Street.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for a warm introduction. So I've been in the industry for about 8 years now and started working with Night Street Games on the early prototype of Last Flag in early 2021, I guess. So at this time, the game was actually built on Unity. Now we fully work with Unreal Engine, and the style of the game was actually quite different. We had the NPC characters who were like zombies and beasts, and overall the mood of the game was kind of very like dark fantasy. Unlike now, we have our NPCs like a cute robots, and the overall tone of the game is really different. It's more like fun and joyful and bright. So yeah, I got contacted on LinkedIn by a recruiter when they said that they need an animator for a brand new capture the flag shooter game, but they couldn't really share any details about the game. But I was so hyped by seeing the style of the game because before I was working on the Sniper Ghost Warrior, the hyper realistic animation based on mocap and a lot of technical animation. And I was really eager to work on something different, like in the style wise and more switch to the keyframe animation. So yeah, it was
And
a great opportunity.
I think one fun story is that when you first were asked to work on this game, you didn't really know who was behind it. The story goes that
No,
Dan and Mac, they really wanted to hide their identity. They didn't want to come in being associated with this high profile rock
that's
band.
right. Yeah, that was just casually like interviewing people, trying to find the proper team for because he had this whole idea for a long time about this game. So I think it was during the interview with our CEO when our they had like in-person chat, and at some point he asked me, wait a second, are you a guy from Imagine Dragons?" That was a really funny moment.
All right, and next I'd like to introduce Eugene. He's our character animator who joins us from Ukraine. He's also an AnimSchool alum with strong experience in both film and games, and he does an amazing job implementing his own work directly into the game, which honestly makes my job a lot easier. So thank you, Eugene. Would you mind saying a few words about your animation journey?
Yes, sure. Can you hear me? Right?
Yeah.
Super. Hey everyone, I'm Eugene. I've been working in the animation industry for over 8 years. From an early age, I began playing video games and fell in love with animation. My background also includes a dancing career that really comes in handy when recording references. At first, I started with feature films and successfully completed 2 of them. Then I transitioned to game dev. While I was working in game dev, I decided to take AnimSchool game classes in order to improve my animation skills and engine knowledge. After I passed the AnimSchool, I was referred to this project by one of the instructors from AnimSchool. That's kind of it. That's my animation journey, briefly.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I had multiple requests to take a look at Eugene's work, and I think one of the things that I also love about Night Street is that there are ties to Ukraine and an outsourced studio out there, and it just really opened my eyes to all of the amazing artists from Ukraine. I was just so impressed with everybody that I've met from Ukraine. So yeah, it's just it was amazing to finally get a chance to meet you, because I wasn't teaching at the time when you were going through AnimSchool. Another funny note, I'll just throw this out there. So we were interviewing Eugene. He had no idea about who was behind the studio or really what the game was about. And here he is wearing an Imagine Dragons t-shirt, and he's wearing one today too. So that's awesome. So yeah, that was another really fun coincidence. All right, so what is Last Flag? Last Flag is a 5v5 asymmetrical capture the flag shooter with unique heroes where you actually hide the flag. So this is like our hook, the thing that makes us unique we really needed to lean into unique characters, and we needed to sorry, I got dog. We really needed to lean into the personality of the characters, and also the art style was really important. You know, there's a lot of hero shooters out there, and we really wanted to stand out. It's set in a 70s inspired universe where players are competing on a game show. That's a fun little outside storyline that's happening, and it's just a great wrapper to build our game around. There's currently 9 contestants, and matches last 20 minutes or less. I'll just play this here so you can kind of see a video from our...
Get in there! Get in there!
I'm in jail! I'm in jail! Welcome to Last Flag, the ultimate game of Capture the Flag. First, hide your team's flag anywhere on your side of the map. Battle it out to capture radar towers and clear sections of the map where the enemy flag is not hidden. Find the enemy flag, run it back to your team's base, and defend it for a minute to win it.
Run out of time. Let's go in here. Hey, I'm in a pit. Where am I? Make up your mind. Okay, I'm going. Okay, this is Oh no, up here. Oh, flick. All right. Oh my god, it's so close. Everybody is down here.
Yeah, they're on their way. They're right down.
Oh, I still like Garrett. I got him down pretty low. He's almost dead. He's down.
I'm down. Get it. Oh, they're taking me. They're taking it again.
Hey, I got you, buddy. Get in there.
Yes.
Oh my god. I got it. It's on me. I'm taking their flag. I don't. Yes. Do it.
What? Killed by the flag carrier. How embarrassing. You got a bounty hunter coming in front?
Count them.
Yeah.
Count the back.
Can you hear me?
Let's flag and go.
Need your help, sir.
All right, so that was when we had a demo going, and we will be having another demo here in just 2 days. So I'm excited to share more about that. The thing that I'm still playing around technically with everything. The thing that I hope that you guys saw was all of the characters that we had to work with. So there's lots of different personalities. We really wanted to make sure that our characters looked and felt different. So that's what we're going to share today, is just sort of our philosophy from an animation standpoint on how we can build personality through gameplay, like with a multiplayer game. When I first started, as Maria mentioned, the game had already been in development for a little bit. There was a prototype that was built, and so the goal of that was just to prove out the gameplay. Once that was established, then they started to look out for other team members, and that's when I came on board as the lead animator. And at that time, the art director had really established a look that he really wanted. He had a specific style, a motion video that he shared with us from the beginning, just to help us make sure that we're all kind of heading towards the same goals, that we're all aligned. Regretfully, I'll share this video, but regretfully, like, there's no credits to the artists that are involved. This was mainly meant as an internal inspiration. But I wanted to at least kind of give you an idea of kind of the planning that goes ahead of time to a game. You know, stylized, amplified, and sensory. You know, we've got a lot of good feedback, you know, dynamic, exaggerated. You know, we could use stretch frames. We could use weight and force, comic-inspired VFX. You know, Spider-Verse was for sure, you know, it's something that's been called to a lot. Having real snappy, tactile, responsive controls. You know, crunchy melee combat. You know, all these things play into game feel, which my definition of game feel is just meeting the player's expectations. And we can do that through many ways with animation, which is what we'll talk about here in a little bit. Having some varied forms of locomotion, you know, and then this is just kind of going over kind of where the contestants were at this time. So these are a lot of videos from that original prototype, just so you can kind of see Last Flag in its early days, you know, just trying to sell the gameplay, but then having the aspirations here in this video shown. So we don't necessarily need to show the whole thing, but I wanted to at least give you an idea that this is something that we had going in. And then my animation goals as the lead was just to really be aligned with the art director and make sure each character felt unique while adhering to restrictions of gameplay. There are a lot of restrictions to gameplay because in games, gameplay comes first. Things like speed, an animator doesn't get to really change. You know, they can be a part of that discussion with the design team of like, you know, can we make this faster or slower? But really, it's the designers. They've created a prototype, and they've got something that they're working with to make sure it's fun and balanced. And then we get to wrap our animations around that. So things like jump height, you know, we need to make sure that that jump height is consistent. But we can add to that with our animations by making them feel heavier or snappier, lighter. These are all ways that we can affect gameplay in a way just by the visuals. We have to work with things like our animations in place. Are they, does the player need to move? You know, locking down the player does not always feel the best, you know. And so we want to make sure that players have the ability to make choices whenever they can, and that their intentions are clear. Our game involves things like using abilities, and we want those to be over the top and fun and exciting to use. So maybe at that time, it's like a gameplay cost of opportunity. So when you're using an ability, you're like, I know this is going to be awesome. It's my choice. I want to use it. I'm okay if my character stays in place. You know, these are questions that we answer as we do playtests. And we do want to elicit empathy. We want to connect with the player. This is what gameplay is. You know, that's one of the things I love about games is that you have that connection with the story. You know, I'm holding up a controller here. That's a very physical, tactile way that I get to control what I see on the screen. And I get to connect and create that empathy, that symbiotic relationship, if you will, with my avatar on the screen. So I want to work together with the player and the animation, the character on screen with the player controlling that character. So we want to make sure that we're sharing that intention of what does the player want to do, thinking ahead of like, well, there is a jump pad here. Let's make sure that that jump pad feels good. Let's see, when the character's got two axes, like our lumberjack, let's make sure that that feels crunchy and snappy, and you know, look at what other games have done and make sure that we're we're giving the player what they want. Rhythm, that's something that I use quite often in when designing a character and their gameplay. Is not necessarily how do the body mechanics work, which are also important, making sure that you've got the spine working right and balance and all that, but also does it flow? I kind of think of animating for games as a way of like working with a racing game. If you've played a racing game, you're in a go-kart match, you're going around, you're in this flow state, and when you hit a wall, it doesn't always feel right when you kind of just hit a stop. And you want to make sure that that flow happens well from animation to animation. When you're going from an idle pose, does it flow well into moving forward, or does it feel like, oh, it's not quite getting to where I want it to be in time, and it's just creating an adverse relation with the player. And then, of course, diversity. So we're always comparing characters from one to another. It's not just one character in a volume, in a contained space. We want to know, well, how does the scout feel with the bounty hunter, and how do they work and feel different? We want our players to choose unique characters based on their own play styles. So to start things off, I'll share a little bit about how I helped design the motion for the bounty hunter. He was the very first character that I took ownership of when I started. And one of the things that I, as the animation lead, I really want each animator to own as much of a character as possible so that they can get into the headspace and personality and really understand who this character is. So this was one of the characters that I worked with, looking at some early concepts and background information. I pulled out some adjectives like swagger, bravado, ego, explosiveness. We're really looking for words that we can always lean into when doing an idle pose. Does it look like they have swagger? Does it look like they could explode into motion real quickly? Does it look like they've got an ego? If there's any idea that we can really lean into, it can be very stereotypical at times, but you really want to make sure that you have a cohesive look for all of your animations. Because again, gameplay is about taking multiple sequences of animations and stringing them together to create a cohesive feel for the character. So that's Julius Reeves. He is our bounty hunter. He comes with 2 hand shotguns, and he's very, what does it say here? He's very exaggerated. He loves his bike. He's a pitch man. He's an author. How does an author fit into the way that he, stands at the end of a match? He's got an ego, so he's very self-centered. It says here he loves money. It's all about the money. So he's not afraid to cut some corners. These are all fun things that are great to just pull out and be like, well, how does that translate into a finishing move, for example? These were some concepts that the art director did in the concept team. One of the ideas that we really wanted to lean into is this idea that he's a little bit shorter, squatter, bigger. We wanted to lean into the idea that his gun moves him. So, in fact, that's become part of his gameplay ability, is that he could shoot both of his guns and he can rocket jump. He can be shot backwards. He can go up in the air. This can add to his strategy. But we really wanted to make it feel like, he's, almost like one of those French bulldogs. They're very squat and heavy, low center of gravity, but they can be explosive and just kind of, bounce around. Of course, my example is dogs because I'm surrounded by dogs right now. So, these are just ideas that, we get inspired by in real world that we can attribute to our characters. So setting up the animation pipeline, the very first thing I want to do is I want to establish what does that idle look like and their jog. This is because that about 80% of the time you're going to be in one of these two animations. So it's important that we establish what that looks and feels like immediately, just from a snapshot. And incidentally, this is also where the curriculum starts at AnimSchool. We definitely want to spend our beginning week or two in the idle and the jog poses, because everything goes to and from those poses. The next thing we want to do is to match what we see in Unreal with what we're seeing in Maya. It's very easy, I guess, to be able to get into Maya, set up the camera you want, and create an awesome silhouette, and it looks perfect. But then you get into the game and you're like, the silhouette is off. I'm too far away. I'm not really seeing the little nuance of the squint in the eyes, or whatever that may be. So it's important that you establish a pipeline between Unreal and Maya so that you can iterate quickly, go back and forth and get feedback. So what makes a good idle? These are just a couple of the things that we want to keep in the back of our minds as we're establishing our idle. Things like a balanced weight, for example. I use the term base of support. And what that means is that however you are touching the ground, however you're supporting yourself, if it's two legs or one leg, if you go into Maya and you rotate the camera around and you line up those feet and you draw a line straight up, if you have enough weight, equal weight on both sides, then your character will be balanced. And we want to make sure that we establish some good balance. We want to be asymmetrical. These are things that have been proven through research and old artists, from the beginning of time, that the things that the eye is attracted to are things like asymmetry, creates a unique interest in things to look at. Angles, for example, a C shape or an S shape, being able to draw a line of action through an entire body are things that are really helpful to lead the eye. We want to favor the gameplay camera. In our game, in Last Flag, we put the camera over the right shoulder, so we want to favor the right side just a little bit more to make sure that we're being as clear as possible. The fun challenge in games is that you could rotate the camera and you can see your character from 360 degrees. So you want to plan for the gameplay camera, the default camera, but you also want to make sure that everything is clear for other players as well. We also want our character's intention to be clear, and since this is a multiplayer shooting game, we want to make sure that players see that their character and avatar on screen look like they're combat ready. I think that you can make some pretty awesome relaxed poses, but it doesn't really convey the intention of the player that you are using. That could include things like, is your character more defensive or offensive? We have characters that do all different types of roles in our game, like an engineer might create, a healing, or they might be really good up close, or, better further away if they're more of a sniper, but maybe up close they're weaker. These are all things that we can show even by where our feet are planted. If my hands are up and kind of protecting me, I'm in more of a defensive state. If I'm more like out to the sides, my hands, and maybe more facing, open and bare, maybe I'm more confident and I can be more offensive that way. And then the main thing, the thing we want to do at all costs is just get out of that default pose. We've all seen like the default paddle hands We've seen, the T poses or the A poses, and we just want to get out of that. We don't want to copy the things that everyone else has done. We want to make our character be as unique as possible. All right, so in exploring Julius's idle pose, here we have a front view and then a game camera view that I've created in Maya with the crosshair there. So we have this really cool, like, standing pose. It looks like he's got swagger. He's got ego. It fits him very well. But when we put it in game, we just didn't have that clear intention. His guns were down. Yes, you could fire the button and his hands would like pop up and go into that idle pose. But then there's that disconnect, and we really don't want to be that jarring. We don't want players to recognize that, oh, that's a new animation. We're changing animation states. So this one didn't work well here. So I brought both guns up and I had them aiming forward because that was the goal, is to make sure we're aiming forward with this character. But then when I put that in the game view, I could tell like his guns were missing. What am I even shooting? Where's the bullet coming from? Is it like coming from his chest? Other players could see this just fine, but really that's supposed to be me. I want to know how I'm feeling and how I'm shooting these weapons. So ultimately, we ended up with a little bit of a side turn. I put the left arm further forward and straighter, while the right arm was just a little bit bent, so I could see both weapons from the game camera, which is in the lower left there. And then when he fired, he would just put his guns out forward. So that's not nearly as big of a pop to change your gun, your hand positions there. If you can see in the lower left there, that is our game view. I added a little bit of a bounciness to him. He's got a little bit of a swagger. It's as if he's got his own soundtrack playing in his head wherever he goes. He's just, he's that confident, and that really, I mainly wanted that to really be a part of who he was, is that he's always the snappy, like, hey guys, this is no problem. Like, he's not really a guy that really gets stressed out too much. Everything just goes his way. He's pretty confident that way. So that was how I ended with that idle pose. Here we can build in a little bit more by taking that idle pose and then breaking out of it and doing what we call an idle break. These really, they don't have a lot of bearing on gameplay per se, except that they build character and help players really understand who they are and the intention of the character. So these animations, I'm looking at the one on the left here, it's interruptible. We can be as long as we want, but we really want to stay kind of within that pose. So feet kind of stay very similar to the idle. But what I wanted to showcase here is just a little bit of style. I also wanted him to be able to look at the camera. That's one of the things that we kind of miss with the over-the-shoulder view, is you don't really get to see the face of the character that you're playing. So this is just another way to show that off. And on the right, that is a reload animation. That's the fire and the reload, going from the idle pose to firing. And then reload. We just wanted to have fun with this. We will always choose entertaining over realistic. If it's fun, if it makes you laugh, if it even makes you question what's really, how is he really reloading? I think that they're just fun questions. The goal is that he's reloading. So I wanted to have more of an outward silhouette and motion. something, if he was kind of doing it like in front of his body, you would probably wonder what is really going on there, that he's hiding too much. So anyways, this was just my way of just kind of having a fun reload of 2 handguns, which is going to be pretty much impossible to do at that speed if you wanted to do it with any realism. The fun thing about this pose here is that it's very similar to the first one that I did, but we needed a character select screen where players could choose which contestant they wanted to use, and it's not in combat. So it was like the perfect opportunity for us to reuse a pose that we had already liked and play it and play it in a different scenario in the game. In our game, we also have what we call finishers. So if you get an enemy character in a down but not out state, which is a popular word of just saying like their health is low, they can still be revived. But if you get up to them, you can finish them off real quickly, and in return you get health back. These are awesome and really fun. Our players enjoy them because they can be very surprising at times. If we go back to the ideas of the summary, the background of this character, he loves his bike. So we're introducing his bike here. And where does it come from? Nobody knows, but Julius does, and he loves it. So he gets to do a little burning rubber on top of somebody. He's also an author. This is one way, this was a problem I wanted solved so bad in game, because it was it's such a strange call out for me in his bio to be an author. I'm like, well, okay, let's have him write a love letter to the person that he's finishing off and sign it. So in game, you'll see there's a little XOXO, love Julius. That's what he's typing there. So he's, finishing his story and signing it for his best fan that he just finished. And then on the left there's some chains because he is a bounty hunter after all. So he's doing a little dance and bowing as he's locking up his enemies. So we have a lot of fun with those. Sometimes we go real zany, and sometimes we get to call out specific parts of their personality. Moving on to jogging forward. This is an important, again, another really important animation that's seen quite often in our game. We need to know ahead of time, what is that designer speed? And if you've ever animated a jog cycle, you can get the speed from the game and you can add that into Maya as a 1-to-1. So you figure out what the speed per second is. You grab that root controller in Maya, and from 0 to 30, and you plug in the final number. That equals 1 second. It doesn't mean your run cycle needs to be 30 frames, but once you get that constant velocity, then you can animate your character so that you can eliminate foot sliding then. That blend should feel smooth. And one of the things that we also discovered early on is that the transitions from idle to jogging forward is extremely important in selling weight and also personality. With this, you can see in the lower left, I really wanted to have him sort of struggle when he's getting up to speed, like that, I guess, bull in the china shop a little bit. Like he's top heavy. He's got to like swing his arms a little bit more to really kind of push himself through the air. Where other characters that are lighter, maybe they just kind of flow into that jog a little bit more streamlined. This is something that it's not changing the gameplay at all. It's not changing the speed that you get to jog. how long that takes. It's just changing that look of how he gets there. All right, so that is Julius in a nutshell. I'd like to talk about another character and hand it over to Maria, who owned the Scout. She worked pretty much just on this character and developed his look and feel. So I'll hand it over to her now.
Yeah, thank you. So Scout is a very special character for our co-founders, since they used to play Capture the Flag game while being actually the Boy Scouts. So Scout, it so happened that it's a very first character ever implemented both in the prototype and in the game. So each character has their own bio and background written by our game designer. And this is actually the core information that we're leaning on while building the personality of the character. So as you can see, Scout, his name is Parker Spencer. He's 17 years old, teenager, basically, and he really loves outdoors. And all his skills were actually taught by his grandfather. So they used to go to camping together, and he is really skilled in terms of camping. And one of the details that was mentioned by our art director, he really likes the Miles Morales from Spider-Verse as a reference in terms of how athletic but clumsy the character looks. He calls this like untrained athleticism. So this is the detail that we try to implement in Scout's character as well. And also we had some really cool poses provided by our 2D artists that we later implemented in his locomotion style, because those are really dynamic and great. Next slide, please. So yeah, idle animations. As for the Julius, we also have those adjectives, and I think that Jarrod actually came up with those descriptive words for the character, which are really, really helpful while building the animation. So this character is sneaky, energetic, youthful, agile, brazen, and flexible. And while creating the idle pose, I was trying to make sure that he actually looks relaxed, but ready for the combat. And we really want to make sure that the muzzle of his rifle is visible, so we can see him actually aiming. And the overall silhouette should be reading well. It should be clear for the player. Besides this, we also have 2 idle breaks, which is a great opportunity to convey the character, the personality of the hero. So for the idle break warm-up, he actually looks restless and so unsubtle as he should. It's really hard to him to stay still because he has a lot of energy in himself that he wants to move all the time. And idle break scan is him actually inspecting the background, inspecting the ground and then turning to make a little eye contact with the player, which is a little element of breaking the fourth wall, which we use quite a lot with our characters. And this really helps us to build a special connection between the character and the player. And also there is a link for idle break references of me being silly, or should I say professional animator. This is our workflow. It's not really different from working on the movies. We also film a lot of references for our animations. Yeah, and I'm doing it with a vacuum cleaner because I don't have a rifle. Okay, next slide. Yeah, so jog and sprint are our 2 main animations for locomotion. Sprint is more accelerated run that trains stamina. And for those two, I also want to convey his energetic and useful personality. And also, this character is supposed to feel sneaky and more like stealthy. His steps shouldn't feel heavy, and we're not supposed to hear him from the far distances because his job is to look for the flag. And that's why we decided to make him a tow runner, so he feels really light. Next slide, please. Yeah, reload. So whenever the character runs out of ammo, we see the reload animation. And for this one, actually, it was inspired by my cousin. Once he came from school and I saw how he flung his backpack with all the important stuff, including like his laptop, the iPad, like he just threw it away. He was really excited and he just ran up to the kitchen. And I think that this is actually kind of a personality that's really common for teenagers, because their mind is constantly driven by, like, they're constantly thinking about other stuff, not about their personal belongings. And I just implemented that little detail in the reload when you can see Scout smashing his rifle, trying to swap the magazine, so he's kind of careless. And for the MVP animation on the right, so whenever a player becomes an MVP of the match, the entire team should celebrate it and watch a little animation dedicated to him. For Scout's MVP, I was inspired by just very random video from YouTube, which is called Polish Streamer. Yeah, he's enjoying his sandwich, and we actually can see the bird approaching him right here, but he still doesn't expect anything, and that's what makes it super fun. And this became a main reference for the MVP animation. So one little thing that I didn't mention is Scout actually has a companion, a falcon, whose name is Luther, and they have a special bond. And we see this bird quite frequently in the gameplay, especially when we use abilities of the character. So can you please play the second video? Yeah. So yeah, I decided to film my own reference to match the personality of Scout, and this is the final animation. Instead of being disappointed, you can see the proud look on his face, just because that's his friend and he's really proud of how sneaky this bird is. And finishers. So we can see Luther appearing in the finishers, in unique finishers of Scout quite often. So yeah, whenever we down the enemy, there is an option for you to run up to him and press F to play a little finisher animation, which is super fun. It should be big and surprising, and that's actually gives you some health points. It can heal you during the game, which is super fun.
Yeah, I just love the introduction of the symbiotic relationship between the Scout and his bird Luther. That's so fun because it's integral with his abilities too. You can use Luther to help you glide through this air, and then also see through his eyes to mark enemies on the screen. But you've also introduced a fun relationship between the two here in the finishing moves as well, like calling them down to just kind of peck at the enemy, or to hold on to Parker's gun so that you can spin around. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, so that's actually true. Luther gives a character an ability to glide. he can actually grab his rifle and carry the character in the air. So if we see the next slide, we can see the early prototype, which is when out of the blue, the early Scout had the jetpack, which is not a thing anymore, because the jetpacks actually now belongs to another character. So we are ready to introduce another character.
Yeah. So the next character, the guy that this sort of evolved into, is Pyro. So Pyro does have a jetpack as his main ability, and Eugene has been the one that has owned this character and developed this character. So we'll have Eugene talk a little bit about his thought process and some of the iteration that we did back and forth to try to work out how does it work with gameplay and intention. And go ahead and take it away, Eugene.
Yeah, here is Pyro. We will discuss my searching process. So that was a new character, and we started from scratch. We couldn't even decide how he would look like. He had even different name. So there was always back and forth with this character, which is kind of cool. Here you can see the deeds provided by our art director. He created the story, which includes his background and personality, what he looks like for the character, art department, and some inspirations, and even a few draft sketches. It was a good starting point. Next slide, please. So yeah, here are my inspirations and references. So the main goal was to create an energetic showman that is always moving. So I started surfing the net in order to find some references for Idol and his movement. So yeah, as you can see, here is Adriano Celentano, Elvis Presley, and even Jackie Chan. I don't know this guy's name, but he moves so fluidly and smoothly, so it's really stuck in my mind. And I had an idea to kind of give this C and S curve shapes to the Pyro's movement. So I started with creating some poses. I was trying to imagine how he would look in different states, like idle, jog, jump, etc. These poses are actually ended up being in his locomotion, so it was a really good investment in character. Next. I wanted to show his energy through the idle and idle breaks, his intention to be ready to go. Idle breaks overall are great for showing the character's personality even more. Next. So I picked a reference with Jackie Chan when he was warming up before a fight. As I was doing it, I immediately thought about an idle break. I thought it would be a good idea to shake and refresh himself after jumping all the time. In the top left picture, you can see my reference, and below it, it's my blocking path. And the second idea was to communicate with the player. We picked the call me gesture. On the top right, in the top right picture, you can see my reference, and I created a quick layout to put it in Unreal to see how it works. Is the timing working, or maybe the place where I can push my poses even further? Yeah, and below it, it's also my blocking pass on this scene. Next. So jumps. The main idea was communicate with the player that Pyro is able to use his jetpack at any moment. So we tried to push this idea wherever we could. And difference between jumps. Next slide. When I started working in the game dev, the first thing that seemed to me strange was actually jump. There are some things that are different in comparison with the regular jump in feature films. First is the anticipation. In game, when you press the jump button, the character should react immediately, so you don't have much time for anticipation. It should be really fast. Let's say your squash pose will be the 3rd frame, and the stretch will be the 4th and the 5th frame. Visually, it's probably the only thing I could mention here, but the technical side was kind of tricky for me at first. In our case, we have 6 animation that illustrate the jump motion. It starts from jump start into jump start loop, then goes through jump apex into jump fall loop, to this jump fall land and jump recovery. It's needed for the engine to play animation in different states, especially loop cycles. They are to accommodate extra height in game. For example, in our game, we have some jump pads which launch you in different directions. And in that case, the engine is using the start loop animation before your character reaches the highest point and starts falling. Same with the fall loop. As an example, I can give a jump from a mountaintop when your falling is longer than usual. That's it for jumps. Moving on, sprints. Here we always played with different ideas and we're trying to push them as far as we could. We've tried a few versions of sprints. As for the first version that you can see in the first picture, in my head, if I were him, I wouldn't want to run with a huge jetpack, so I wanted to use this jetpack in order to help the character run easily. Plus, we wanted to give information to a player that this character is able to fly. But unfortunately, after a few playtests, we found out a bit confusing. It felt like you were burning fuel while sprinting, and it wasn't our intention. But we liked the idea itself and wanted to keep it. So we started looking for other solutions. We used an gazelle as a reference for the rhythm and used small VFX smoke from the jetpack to emphasize this moment when he takes off the ground. That's it for sprint. Jog transitions and override layer. Now I wanted to talk about mostly override layers and how you can use them in order to create a full locomotion to save a bit of time. So next. The override layer is the layer that is just blocking animation in the layers below it. So as you can see in the top left picture, I have my jog cycle set up to infinite and looped for 60 frames. So that is my base layer. In the bottom left picture, I created an override layers and put their last 60 frames of my idle animation. And here is when the magic is happening. So in the top right picture, I just blended the override layer with the base layer using the blend weight curve, as you can see in my graph editor. So just a bit of playing with this curve and you can see the result I got, and it was really fast. I spent maybe like 10 minutes on it, and you can apply this to any direction. And it works even when you create a unique stop or start animation for a locomotion set, so you can smooth the transitions even better. It's not hard, just a little practice, and I'm sure you all can handle it. So just try it. Yeah, joyride ability. It's his ultimate ability when he rides his jetpack as a board and launches it right in the enemy's face. Creating the joyride ability was a lot of fun. We had we had to find we had to find out how he takes his jetpack off his back and how he jumps off from the jetpack. So in top left picture, I just created a simple cycle of the floating jetpack and was trying to find some key poses that would help me to move forward. With a lot of feedback sessions, we ended up with the idea in the bottom left picture. And there is an in-game capture of the ability in the left picture. As you all can see, it consists of 3 parts. It's the start animation when he takes his jetpack off his back. The second one is the loop when he's gliding the jetpack. And the last part is end. It's when he jumps off this jetpack. So that's how it works. Yeah, here's the link for the character select animation. Oh no, sorry, it's the trailer.
Yeah, it's a great way to show off all of your animations in a gameplay context. This is such great work, Eugene.
Thank you. Not without your help.
Now you can see some of the abilities there. This is the character select screen, and the way we're introducing the character in this video is we get to add some fun camera movements to it.
So yeah, character select screen. So this animation also consists of 3 parts. Intro when you introduce a character, loop animation when he stays in one place and shows his attitude, and a step when all players are ready and a match is about to start. So I love to find some characters or real people who match the description of my character. So here I was inspired by Jackie Chan, Elvis, Boba Fett, Johnny Cage from the Mortal Kombat game series, Neo from Matrix because his fly looks cool, and some mixture of like Tony Stark with Michael Jackson. So there were a bunch of them. Yeah, the reference was good, but we wanted to push the idea even further. We decided to have him flying in the screen and do his signature split in order to add even more personality. It's the next slide. So yeah, in the top left picture, you can see my original blocking according to my reference. But then we started to implement some ideas. So I used the Neo reference when he is flying. And yeah, and adding split. So it kind of looks cool to me.
Yeah, something that I
that
also,
was a lot of stuff, yeah.
Something I also love about your workflow is that you'll take like a cube, for example, in the lower left, and you block out that movement because you're just trying to sell an idea in a short amount of time. You don't need to go in and grab the hips and get the spine working right. You know, you can sell an idea quickly before you spend more time fleshing it out.
Yeah, even when you want to see your timing, how it's going to be, yeah, that's actually the easiest way to find out. Yeah, this is a loop part. Again, I wanted to create a simple cycle with a rhythm and add some other poses and transition on top of it using an additive layer. As you can see, In the top right, left, sorry, picture is just a single cycle with a repeatedly animated movement, and below it, I was trying to add some poses right on top of it. And on the right, you can see my poses. I was trying to look for some transitions or just poses for this loop. Next slide. It's all about accept. As for the accept part, I used some of the sketch provided by the art department. The main intention was to make him launch himself using the jetpack with eagerness to start the match. And that's it for me. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Eugene. Thanks, Maria. It's so awesome to have you guys being able to talk about your thought process and working through building a character with personality. We just threw in a couple other animations here just so you can kind of see some of the fun that we're having. We're really enjoying working on this. And if there's anything that I would hope that animators would come away from with this message is this idea that animation really adds to gameplay by creating personality. So if you have the restrictions of gameplay and you know what they are, you can learn how to work within those restraints and then really have fun and push the boundaries of showing personality, giving thought to the characters. How do they feel about certain things? For example, in the left here, this is a game show element that we have as a finisher where you can create you're basically calling a shark down from the sky to finish off your opponent. And here's our thief character, and she's like, rawr, 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 yeah. Being chomped up. So, and then I love the dance off between the two characters on both sides of this glass here. We got two opponents that just want to dance with each other. It's so fun. All right, well, exciting news. So starting Monday, in just 2 days, we do have a couple upcoming events happening for our game Last Flag. We do have a free Steam demo that you can download on Steam and play between the week of February 9th through March 2nd. The first one coming up, the first big event is PvP Fest, where you'll be able to play against developers and beat us at our own game. That's the hope. We love playing. As I mentioned earlier, like these matches, they're only like 20 minutes at the most. And it's just so fun to just jump in, try a character. You can always switch if in the middle of a match, if you want to try somebody else. And find out which character resonates with your play style. We all play test literally every day. It's something that we want to be invested in. We want to understand how our animations are being used, and make sure that they're being used in an appropriate way, and then polishing when you can. There are going to be in-game rewards that you'll be able to get that are exclusive just for this beta. So if you join within this time frame, you get to keep that, with when the final game comes out. And at this point, I'd like to play a trailer that our small animation team, which is, we had more animators that were helping on this trailer, and certainly miss working with them dearly. But I wanted to play this here and give you guys an idea of the fun we have in developing these characters and how we can show that off even in a trailer now.
Meanwhile, beneath the blue team's base.
All right, team, huddle up. Next game starting, so here's the plan. Peter, you're on flag duty. Remember, you can hide it anywhere, so get creative. Jake?
Got it. Sorry, CG.
Parker, you're on intel. Keep that bird in the sky, scope radar towers A and B. We'll lock them down and get scanning for the red team flag. Then we unleash our secret weapon.
The red team's listening.
And how do you know that? Suji, do your thing and sneak past enemy lines to find that red flag. Kicking butt along the way.
Easy.
We'll see you.
Camille. Now, once we have the flag, use that teleport gun of yours to shoot the flag carrier towards home base. Because you know they'll be riding out bumper.
Wait, what?
Stick to this brilliantly devised plan. We got this in the bag. Let's boogie. Wait, why do you still have that? You only got 4 seconds left. Bingo. All right, team. New plan.
Just wing it.
Seriously?
Meanwhile,
All right, yeah. So you can see we tried to include a lot of our personality that we've developed for that little trailer there. Oh, one more thing. Oh, what is this? All right, so for those of you that might be interested in applying for AnimSchool, so new students only, when you sign up, if you let them know that you're interested in the games track, and you type in the discount code LASTFLAG26, you'll get $80 off, which is good for the spring or the summer terms. So that's very, very cool that we could partner together with that, and love to have you go through that program as well. It's a great program. We've had a lot of success seeing students get hired from there, and not even just that. It's really online school in general, and just the online community is so important, of like building a network. And this is a great way to start that. Like, you can, if you don't have a network yet, you want to meet new people, all of these colleagues that you get to meet are all amazing people that have their own journey. And when you build those connections, your relationship continues outside of that. And hopefully one day you get to work with great people like I get to every day. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd love to share or have a Q&A session with folks where you could ask us about AnimSchool. We have Eugene, who is an alum. He graduated from the program. If you have anything about our animation process with Last Flag. Otherwise, if I can also just throw this in there, it might seem like a shameless plug, but we love what we do. We love the people we're working with. We would be so honored if you played our game and left some feedback. We do care. We do read it. And we would just be so thrilled if you would even wish list it. That would really help us out a lot. So thank you very much. All right, so let's see. Any questions by anybody? Let's see. There was one question up here about wanting to know about how to add animations to a game and create contextual animation. I think maybe that's what you were asking, something about adding the difference between a normal jump and a running jump. Maria or Eugene, would you like to answer this at all? Like, if not, I'm happy to take it.
I can. Eugene, if you want to take this one, is because you've been telling about the jumps a lot on your work. Nope. Okay. We actually do have in our game 2 states of the jump. One, it's not the difference between the standing or running, but instead we have 2 different jumps for jog for jogging or standing, and then the sprinting. Just because the sprint appears to be more accelerated locomotion, we want to make this jump feel more like more powerful and more fast. That's why we decided to go with the 2 different states. So yes, whenever you are working on the locomotion set of the character, you want to create different animations for jump or standing animation, the idle, for run and sprint, and etc. These are all different animations.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with working with the designer also to give you the ability to add those animations. There's certain little logic and code that's needed to make sure that the game would accept that. But yeah, we have 2 different animation jump states in our game. Without simulation, how can I have realistic hair in animation? I've seen some student demo reel videos with great animation, but not simulated. That is a great question. I think that the first thing that comes to mind for me are some fun plugins or like aim offset type scripts. And I know, Eugene, you have really advocated a lot for those as well. Would you like to say anything about any that you've worked with for creating overlap?
Yeah, sure. I mean, mostly I use just 2 scripts, which just animate things. I don't know. You kind of can animate the trajectory of the things like clothes or capes, like animate just first control and just simulate the rest of this chain. So it's not that complicated actually. It's mostly done by scripts.
Yeah, we use. I know we use like an overlapping tool. I think that would be the term that you could probably look at.
Yeah.
And what it does is you multi-select all of the chain, and it will take whatever the pose it's in. You could animate as little or more that you would like. You can add as many poses as you want, and when you run the script, it figures out what's pulling it, and it adds a little offset. And there's usually some dials you can change, some input to say, I want it really floppy, or I want it mostly kind of stiff. I think that those are some great time savers, and we're all about the time savers. We don't necessarily want to spend all of our time animating hair and flags and cloth and all that. So we run scripts that help us get there faster.
It's probably the most boring stuff you can animate.
Yeah, we want to animate cool, fun things like, sharks eating people and riding on jetpacks. How long did it take for you guys after you graduated AnimSchool to find a job? Eugene, you wanna say that one?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how long you've been studied in the school. So the more the better. It took me probably maybe a week or 2, but my market is fortunately for me is smaller than probably yours, so it wasn't like a huge problem for me to find a job in my market, in my place.
Yeah, I think in general, like honing in on what you want to do is going to be really critical in finding a job. But of course, the job that you want needs to be available when you're ready for it. You need to be, or vice versa, you need to be ready when they're looking. And so, always be learning. You always want to be as employable as possible. But if there's something that you want to focus in on, if it's games or film or cinematics in games, which is sort of a nice blend of film and games, then you can have your reel be tailored more towards performance. If you want to be in cinematics, if you want to be more in games, then definitely you want to download like a free template from Unreal, and you want to get your work into an engine, or you could take like an AnimSchool class and you could work with other instructors that are in the industry that can help give you some insight and keep you accountable for getting your work done on time and really kind of push those limits. I don't know if anybody else has any tips for getting jobs that you want to share.
Yeah, please.
Just apply. That's the main tip. Don't be picky. Keep in mind that huge studios, that's a great option too. But you really want to start with the small studios as well. So indie studio like us, it's really small one. It's also a great opportunity to start with because the jobs there could be really fun. It's not about like a big title. It's more about the people you're working with and the projects you're doing.
Yeah, even huge studios, it's kind of rare when they hire some new animators. So, but you need, it requires some of experience in animation industry. So don't hesitate, just apply any company and just get your experience.
Yeah, and I think that I've seen this on LinkedIn. Like, I know that the job markets are drying up, or it seems like it's a downturn. I hope that that's just a temporary adjustment that is eventually going to build up again. We've got certainly a lot of really big games coming out this year. You saw in one of the first slides I put, there's like over 19,000 games came out last year. And a lot of them might be just one or two people that are putting a game together, and maybe they're just doing it for fun, and they're just, they're just throwing it out there, and maybe it doesn't really make money. But for those of you that are in that job hunt, I think the important thing is to stay hungry and to learn something, and just realize that it is a competition. You do want to be focusing on it, but you don't want to be burned out either. But find something that inspires you, find the type of work that you want to do, and really hone in on that. I think that's just really going to be helpful to you. The nice thing about learning is that now you own that. Like, that is value you have given to yourself. It's not about whether a job gives you value or not. That comes and goes. It's really about the value that you give yourself. And when you learn something, every time you set a keyframe, that's experience that you get to keep with you forever. So keep improving, keep pushing through. That's just the advice that I have. All right. I don't see too many other questions. I really appreciate those of you that stuck around through the whole thing. Again, if you are a new student interested in joining AnimSchool, if you type in a code LASTFLAG 2026, you'll get $80 off if you put in that you are interested in the games track. Otherwise, we do have a demo for Last Flag in 2 days. Please play it. We would love that. We would love your feedback. There's certainly a lot of voices in the industry of playing different games. This is one that we're very excited to share with the public and to receive feedback for, and make it a fun, enjoyable experience. It is a low competition environment. You know, sometimes you see those games where, you know, you play with people that have been playing forever. You know, they're super good at it, and you will not stand a chance when you try a game out, and you're like, oh man, I don't even want to try. This is not that game. This is the game where we're really focusing in on just 9 different contestants. You know, we'll have more heroes in the future, but really it's just about going in and having fun. The strategy always changes. I love hiding personally. You know, I think some people don't like hiding, and you don't have to hide the flag, but it's fun to just. It's like playing hide and seek with guns. You go in, you find like a spot where you're like, no one will ever find it here, and it's just a really, it's just a fun gameplay experience that I've really enjoyed. You know, I've worked on games that I haven't enjoyed the play testing as much. This is certainly coming from me, and the dog is saying that it's probably time to go soon. So. All right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Appreciate Maria and Eugene for spending their Saturday to talk about their pipeline and their process of adding personality. Take care, everyone, and hope to see you next season.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Night Street Games. Thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Peace.